Okay, good, good. Show me your left profile. Yes. Now smile, please. Yes. Hello.
Hi, how is the iPhone review going?
Yeah, the review is going fine. It's fine. Actually, I'm almost done. Like a few minutes and it's over. Time for the review. Okay, sorry for the ridiculous intro, but the theme for this year's iPhone is how good the cameras are, so I thought it would be fitting. Okay, so before we do the camera test and comparison to iPhone 10, I thought we'd do some quick spec rundown, so we have this part over. So basically, this is an iPhone, so it runs iOS. Obviously, it's supporting A13 Bionic chip and 4 gigs of RAM, which is actually a really huge amount for iOS device. Actually, it's the same amount that iPads Pro have, and I'm really impressed that they put it in a phone like this. A13 Bionic is a monster both in power and efficiency, so this phone has a 1-hour battery life better than the iPhone XR, which was last year's iPhone battery champ. All iPhones are now IP68 water resistance from 2 to 4 meters and sport the supposedly most durable glass in any phone ever, which is always nice to hear, although I won't test the scratch or drop resistance. For that, you should probably visit Johnny Rick Everything or Phone Buff, because they would do it in the most scientific and technical way, so you will learn something from them. Although I'm planning to go caseless with my iPhone because it's sporting so good color. I really love the green, even though I don't think it's a green. In fact, it's more mint or tile color. The cameras. iPhone 11 shares the same two cameras as the iPhone 11 Pro, which is the wide-angle and ultra-wide-angle lens, and they are both capable of recording 4K 60 frames per second, as well as the front-facing camera, which is now bumped to 12 megapixels and also capable of recording 4K 60 frames per second, which is a great news for vloggers. Okay, iPhone obviously records in stereo now and has a stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos support, which basically means that if there is audio with the Dolby Atmos codecs, the 5.1 or 7.1 audio, it will try its best to replicate the effect, and it kind of works. It works. It obviously doesn't work as good as the big speakers, but it's really noticeable improvement from the last year. Okay, so if the processing power, battery life, and cameras are so great, actually the only downside is the screen. So before we start with the screen, I need you to know that I was iPhone 10 user before I switched to iPhone 11. So I use this crisp OLED screen, and in theory I shouldn't be even able to look at the screen of iPhone 11, but I'm actually liking it a lot. You see, the fact that it's not OLED only matters when you're dealing with true blacks, and is the most noticeable part of the display when you're comparing those iPhones, or if you're watching Game of Thrones episode 3 from season 8, then you will probably see a little more on the iPhone 10 or 11 Pro. But other than that, the color reproduction is really great, the brightness is also good, so overall this phone is, the screen really looks great 99% of the time. And when it comes down to the screen resolution, which isn't even 1080p and blah blah blah, you need to remember that this phone is still plenty sharp. In fact, it's both sharper and brighter than the screens found on iPads Pro, which have only 264 ppi and 15 nits less of brightness, although they still support ProMotion. But the screen on the iPhone 11 isn't nearly as bad as people describe it, and I actually like it even more than the screen of my iPhone 10, simply because it's bigger and I can really appreciate the extra room more than I would appreciate the extra pixels. So if we have the tech specs out of the way, let's jump into the real review. And as I mentioned before, it will be focused mainly on the cameras, because all the other parts are like iPhones from the past. It's plenty fast, it has now a really good battery life. It's like a whole day plus, even if you're editing on it. I now pre-edit my footage on the iPhone before I throw it on the Mac, because the iPhone does it so fast and so effortlessly, and it has still battery left for the rest of the day. It actually never died on me. The only thing that drains the battery life more is the Apple Arcade. Speaking of Apple Arcade, I think it's a great benchmark for the new A13 Bionic chip, because even more graphically demanding games like Oceanhorn work really great and fluidly on the newer phones. Yes, the battery takes a hit, but all the games look just stunning. All in all, I recommend to try Apple Arcade because the first month is for free and there are no microtransactions here. So enjoy! Okay, so here is a quick speed test to check the Wi-Fi speed, and it's obviously the same Wi-Fi, and as you will see, the iPhone 11 on the left has a faster download speed and really similar upload speed, and maybe the difference is not that huge, but it was constant across multiple tests, so I think it's an improvement. Also, don't look at the screen resolution. The iOS native screen recorder just records 720p, so it really sucks. Okay, so now we will compare how iPhone 11's photos look next to the iPhone 10's photos. So we will do some quick photo session with Julia and see how it turns out. Here's a handheld shot, and we can clearly see that the iPhone 11 has much better stabilization as well as a color capture. Okay, so here is video from the front-facing camera, and okay, my hair look not good on both, but you can see that iPhone 11, it should have better dynamic range, but there isn't that much of a light, maybe in that direction. Okay, so now you can see that the iPhone 11 tries to expose the clouds, the sky, while iPhone 10 just gives up. Here we can see the wider front-facing camera on iPhone 11 and the rear-facing main camera comparison. Here we can see that iPhone 11 lifts the shadow more, and here we can see the ultra-wide angle lens, which works fantastic in bright light and also works with time-lapses, which is my favorite feature. And here we can compare the portrait modes, and as we can see, iPhone 11 allows for a wider field of view here, which sometimes may be really handy. We will start the low light photos with a quick reminder: do not use ultra wide angle lens in low light because it just sucks. Okay, so here we can see the iPhone 11 on the left. It has wider angle and less noise, especially on the forehead. And here, look at the background. The iPhone 11 captures much more detail and exposed light much better compared to iPhone 10, and on the other hand, iPhone 10 has the telephoto lens, which was really handy in this situation. And in this comparison, look how badly iPhone 10 handles light on Julia's face. And now we can see how smart HDR helps iPhone 11 with overexposed images. And in those photos we can see how sharp details are even in far background when shooting with night mode on iPhone 11. Now let's see some night videos, and honestly I love this shot. It's mind-blowing. The details, the exposure, the fluidity, everything is so great here. It's just eye candy. And here is another video, and here amazing job with dealing with all the different lightnings, and look how smooth the video is. Really, you change the environments and the video is still great. Amazing job on the HDR. Finally, I want to mention the new portrait mode high key mono, which allows you to cut off the background but does it in much nicer way than previous portrait modes. And look at all those details and eyelashes, the skin texture. It's, in general, those cameras are amazing. iPhone 11 has amazing cameras, and in my opinion the best on the market currently. Okay, so to sum up, if the screen is the only thing that was holding you back from buying this phone, if you really like the color, if you want something fast with good battery life and great cameras, I think that you should go with the iPhone 11. It is really fantastic phone that has bad reputation because of the screen, and I'm actually glad that Apple cut the corners the way they did, because having all the features for $700 as opposed to $1,000 on the iPhones Pro, I really like it. And as I mentioned before, I don't mind the screen, and I in fact like its size more than I dislike its resolution. And pro tip, go for the 128 gig version because it's $750, so it's only $50 more. You won't run that fast out of storage when you're shooting 4K 60 frames per second across all the lenses. Okay, so the power is great. I didn't test the scratch resistance, but I'm rocking it caseless for over a week and I don't see any scratches so far, which is great. And also, I don't know if I can show it to you properly, but this video was wholly recorded on the iPhone 11, including the audio, so you can tell me what do you think about it. If you enjoyed it, remember to subscribe and like, and maybe even share, and hopefully see you guys in the next one.